Cashflow Diary Podcast, episode 215.
Welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Cashflow Diary Podcast, the podcast that teaches you insider tips, tactics, and strategies for creating leverage streams of cash flow into your life. Learn from top-performing entrepreneurs, business owners, investors, and thought leaders from across the globe as they share their secrets to success. Like what you learn on this and other Cashflow Diary podcast episodes? Go to learninvestingnow.com and sign up to receive powerful tips and information that will help you succeed as an entrepreneur and investor. Now, here's your host, investor, entrepreneur, business owner, educator, speaker, author, and master facilitator of Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow game, Jay Massey.
How many of us have ever had a bad day? How many of us have not? How many of us are not going to raise your hand no matter what I ask? Okay, 100% participation. It's yes, no questions. Here's the thing. That was a tough situation. We've all had bad days. We've all had things happen to us. We all have whatever we have. We're just going to collectively call that so what. Okay, can you say that with me? So what? I don't care. I've heard excuses before. Right? I'm too tall, I'm too short, I'm too female, I'm too black, I'm too white, I'm too whatever to get business done. We're all offered excuses every day. If you are able to walk, talk, your spouse is not going to die tonight to your knowledge. You have something to eat and a place to stay. You're ahead of where I started. Make sense? Okay. So I'm not really compassionate for excuses. If I hear your excuse today, and we will be talking back and forth and there will be questions, just know that I will challenge your excuse. It's a process I call carefrontations. Because I do care, because I've learned when we as entrepreneurs go out there and care enough, we'll actually do something about it. We can actually change the world. This room right here. We don't need that many more people than the ones sitting in here to make that happen. All right. I put a couple of dates on the board just to give you some context so that you can understand a little bit more about me. February 13th, 2008, that was the date that you heard me talk about us squatting in bank-owned property, etc. That was the date we lost our primary residence. That was over in Euclid, Harbor in Euclid up in Anaheim, which is where we were living at the time. February 25th was the day I began learning in live classroom settings similar to this, how to do real estate investing, because I didn't know what else I was going to do. I had been a financial planner for a while, and my challenge at that time was when I was trying to find a job, they said, hey, if you have $2 million of assets under management, we'll take you. I'm like, dude, if I had $2 million of assets under management, I wouldn't be looking for a job right now. Or you can work inventory and graveyard shift. I'm like, well, neither of those options worked for me at that time. So I was like, well, what am I going to do? And a friend said, hey, you should get involved in real estate investing. So clearly with a credit score of 398 and barely $75, that's the obvious choice. Real estate investing. That's going to be a point later. June 18th, 2008 was when we closed on our first single family residence. I still own that one. It's in San Bernardino, California. It's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house on a 1,100 square foot lot. It's really weird. 9,000 square foot lot. It's just a really weird setup. Anyway, still have that one. But that was a very important one because real estate investing is a skill set. Business is a skill set. Raising capital is a skill set. So I'm going to ask you a very simple question. How many of you know how to tie your shoe? You know you have the physical ability to tie shoes, yes? Yes. Perfect. How many of you have ever made any money tying shoes? Exactly, right? It's like, here's the thing. It's still a skill set, right? We have to teach it to the little ones because we want them to learn how to tie their shoes very properly so we can actually get in the car and go somewhere. That's really what we're after. But here's the thing. The economy doesn't care about that skill set. That's why we don't get paid for it. Not too long ago, there was a skill set known as typing. And just because you knew how to type, you could earn more money because of it. But now we have 3-year-olds who can type. on iPads and text you. At least mine do, right? And those are the things that skill declines over time in terms of marketplace value. Just understand that the skill of business and entrepreneurship, I'll rephrase, to being able to identify a problem that someone else has and being willing to solve it for them for a fee has been around for a very long time. A very long time. And once you have that skill set, I don't care what country, what language, or where you live, long as you are on planet Earth and you're near people, you have a way to create an income. That's what I love about business in general. What was the second question?
What is entrepreneurship?
I'm just making sure. And the third one?
Whether or not you're self-employed.
Well, okay. What's the fourth one?
What inspires you?
What inspires? Yes, and that's exactly what I want to talk about. What inspires me? Okay, so today we start out with, we're losing everything, squatting a bank-owned property, repossess. I mean, we were making decisions, electricity or food. All right, those were actual decisions. And they're like, hey, which do we pay? I don't know. By the way, the answer to that is electricity, because when you go buy the food and then you put the food in the refrigerator and the electricity gets cut off. Anyway, I'm just letting you know, if you ever in that situation, I've already been there for you, so now you don't have to do that one. Today, we have a little over 300 units of apartment buildings. Most of our apartment buildings are in Tennessee. I have a number of mortgages where people, it's how people buy a house and they pay the bank a mortgage. Well, I'm that bank in that particular case. So they pay that to me. We have a number of those in Illinois. Commercial building over in Colorado, Ace Hardware. You probably have heard of them. And then, how many of you are on T-Mobile? Anybody? Sweet. Please pay your bill, because I own a cell phone tower as well. And every time you pay your bill, a little teeny bit of that comes my way, and I'm very excited for it. So just keep doing that. Not that I had to tell you, right? She's like, now I'm switching to Sprint. I understand. But hey, everything's a real estate deal. Everything's business and solving problems in various different ways. Here's the cool thing. To date, with all of those things, I have still not used a bank loan. I've still not gone. In fact, I don't really know how to fill out a loan application, to be honest. My CFO, if we need it, will do that. In fact, when I went to get my last car, she did it, because I'm like, I don't know what they're asking. That was her job. It was awesome. And which means, because I was gifted the opportunity to start in a business with a credit score of 398 and barely $75, I had to learn how to use other people's resources from the beginning. Understand this. A business owner, by definition, must learn how to use other people's resources, whether that's time, whether that's their knowledge, whether that's their expertise, and yes, of course, their money as well. That's just one of the many tools that you need in order to make your business work. The cool thing that I love about business is how easy it is. Does anyone happen to have a newspaper? Of course not. Yeah, no, I figured, I was like, let's just go out there and see if someone actually still has physical pieces of paper of news. So I need someone to go to, on your phone, to go to the front page of, you know what, I can do it here, because it should show. Perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you how easy it is to find business, and specifically, let me see. Sweet. Legoland to open a ninja-themed land in the spring. That's awesome. How many of you have been to Legoland? How many of you have not? How many of you care not to go ever? Yeah, right? Exactly. Right? But aren't there some people who are absolutely fanatical about Legos? Yes. And don't you know that they know this right now? So isn't it it's again, I'm thinking about irrational obsessions, right? If you can take someone to rational obsession and give them a way to express themselves, and just simplest idea, how many of you can come up with a simple idea that can talk to this particular person? Come on. You got an idea. I got two now. Come on, give me an idea. How could you help the person who likes Legoland and ninjas? Come on, think. That's true. Okay, go further. You had an idea. Yes, exactly. What do you do?
I wear many hats.
Most entrepreneurs do, but what do you do?
I work for a private equity group.
Oh, okay.
And I also have my own consulting business, and I run a co-founded impact investment fund.
Got it.
For other entrepreneurs.
So how did you come up with merchandising? Well, how did you figure that out? Because that's exactly what I was thinking.
Well, I was going to say either that or porn, which is a type of...
Oh, wow. Okay.
Those are subsectors of that, but Legoland and Ninja themed, I mean, those are like products, right?
Exactly.
And those are things.
Right.
And so to put those together.
Are there t-shirts with this on it? Are there t-shirts with this on it? What about t-shirts with both of them on it? They don't exist yet. You know why? Because they just announced this thing. That's not overly complicated, was it? Right? All I'm doing is going, there's a specific customer. There are 5 questions. Okay, and I know you're like, when is he going to get to how to raise the capital? Believe it or not, I'm already there, and you just don't realize it. Because the challenge when most people go to get money is that they forget to answer 5 questions. It's the same 5 questions. It's 5 questions that you should answer before starting your business. It's the same 5 questions that you have to answer for the person who's about to write that check. And I've had people write me checks for as little as 10 grand and definitely more than $1 million. And the 5 questions are the same. They're always done in the same order. They don't change. It's just a matter of you being able to understand how to answer those questions. 2, 3, 4, 5. The 5 questions are why, what, when, who, and then how. Those are the 5 questions. Once you have the answer to those 5 questions, you're good. You can be able to raise capital for any business. Now, I like real estate, obviously. And the major reason I like real estate is because it has a very strong advantage. And that's POC, proof of concept. How many of you have heard that term before? Yes? Excellent. How many of you watch Shark Tank? Yes, right? One of the best, I almost assumed everybody in here was going to raise their hand. I'm like, how could you not? It's like, that should be your ticket entry. Answering questions from the previous episode of Shark Tank. Yes, you can come in. So with that being the case, my question becomes, Kevin, Mr. Wonderful, always ask for? What's one of the first questions he's always... Exactly. Sales. Sales are the investor's form of proof of concept. I don't care. See, right now, it takes no thought process for you to go, you know what, I'm going to buy a piece of property, and I'm going to put a house on it, and people are going to live there. You don't go, no one's ever going to do that. Right? You're like, of course. People like living in houses with roofs over their heads. Proof of concept. That's real estate's major advantage. All the other ideas we have, Legoland, Ninja-themed t-shirts, we have to prove that concept first before people will be willing to back it because they're like, I'm sure, but have you sold any? Right? That's what's missing. Is you gotta have proof of concept. And the best form of proof of concept by far isn't a research study, isn't your business plan, because you know what a business plan really is, right? It's a guess at what you think might happen should you believe that this is the person that you hope is your customer, and this is how we guess they're going to use it and how much we believe they might buy should they actually like it. Yeah, it's close to that, right? Right. And you don't know what your business, you don't know how your customers are going to use your product. You don't know how they're going to react to it until you've asked them to give me $1. Give me money for it. And it could be something as small as, trust me, we test this all the time because I now have a online information business, and whether it's $1, $8, $100, $10,000, 90 grand, doesn't matter. You've got to prove that same thing just to create a customer over and over and over again. And if you can't, you don't have POC. If you don't have POC, you don't go to the table. Don't even try because you've got to have proof of concept, all right? You can overcome it. It's just very, very difficult. When you don't have proof of concept, and you don't have a track record, that's really tough. That's when you have to rely on other things like your team and their expertise and experience. But that's when you start getting into situations where you have less equity than you want at the end of the day, which for most people is not the situation you're looking for. You typically want to retain. I like to retain equity and I like to retain control. That's like my thing. I am definitely a control freak, so I just don't do deals that are less than 51% me. I have to have majority or super majority because that's just like my thing. But I don't mind being different on the equity. That's fine, but I've got to have control. If you want my time, my attention, that's what it comes down to. But you've got to understand why. If you can't get to the reason why this product or this problem exists and why your product will actually solve it and why people will actually reach into their pocket and pull out money for it, it doesn't matter. It's the number one thing you've got to do. And it's the first and most skipped thing that happens because most of the time when we're getting ready to start a business, the first thing we ask is, how big is the market? How much money can I make? And we start out with the wrong frame of mind. Here's another definition of an entrepreneur that I hope sticks with you. It's just one word: servant. He or she who endeavors to serve the most number of people with their product or service, they're going to win long term. And I don't care if it's just lemonade. My daughters, I have 4 kids, 3 daughters, 1 son. Pray for me. 18, 7, 6, and 4. The 7 and 6-year-old, I could set them up on a weekend and put them over there in the street corner and they start selling lemonade. They're in business. What is the difference between saying, here, honey, let's go ahead and do some business versus, and we sell, maybe 20, 30 gallons of lemonade over the course of a weekend? Versus me just asking that same question and saying, how can we sell and serve 1 million gallons of lemonade every weekend? It's still lemonade. The only difference was scale. And the difference is understanding why. Why are you doing it? Why will you take the time to get up in the morning, night, afternoon, evening, 24, okay, let me just squash something right here. You realize you're not going to work less, right? Okay. I've heard it said that being an entrepreneur is also someone who's willing to work 80 hours for themselves so they don't have to work 40 hours for someone else. Because it's kind of like that, especially at the beginning. But at the end of the day, understanding why your product or service is the one that's going to make things happen is important. Why do you want to be in business? It's got to be strong because you will. How many of you have ever been sued? There's only 2. Yeah, excellent. How many of you have not been sued yet? Okay, got it. So when that comes, you need to know why. Why am I fighting for these people, my employees, jobs? Why am I fighting to serve these people, customers? Why do I care? Do I care? And if you don't, it's going to be days like that, you'll be done. Unless you actually care, then it's cool. You'll figure out a way and you'll make it happen. What you want to sell, what you want to provide, it doesn't really matter. We came up with an idea right here. What I love about the newspaper, it's the best place to grab leads and ideas. I typically do this, and I've done this in foreign countries. I'll take a foreign newspaper, and within a few pages of the first page, I can find a real estate deal, no matter where it is, so long as someone can translate it for me. I can find a real estate deal. I can find business. They're right here. Problems people offer to you for free. Okay? And that's what you must remember. You are a problem solver. So let's talk about money for a moment. What is this? Total free participation here. What is this? What is it? $100 It's a $100 bill. Okay. What else is it? It's an idea. It's an idea. I like that. Someone said it. It's a resource. I like that. What else is it? Tool. Yes, absolutely. What else? Power. Sure. What else? Advantage. It's advantage. Okay. Yeah, I have it. You don't. Right. All right. What else? What's that? A means. That's true. May I borrow this for a second?
Yes, of course.
Okay. What's the difference between this and this?
Value.
Value? What, hold on. Hold on. What is this? What is this?
Legal tender.
What is this?
Paper.
They're both paper. Let's just really talk about it for a second. This is paper. But why do you value this piece of paper more than this piece of paper?
That's going to be an important question for all of us to answer, because some pieces of paper, if you haven't figured it out, one of the pieces of paper in my hand is currency. It's money, what we currently call money today, just to make sure. And the other is just a regular sheet of paper. And it's an interesting exercise. I'll get you back to it, obviously, here in just a second. And you have probably figured out that what you are listening to is a live event. So, from time to time, yes, I do get the privilege of speaking to audiences in various parts of the globe, and definitely enjoy the opportunity to do so. In fact, I have a small request. If you want me to come and speak to your people, feel free to send us an email at info@cashflowdiary.com. Again, that's info@cashflowdiary.com. Send that email in, and we'll let you know what that looks like in terms of details, timeframes, etc. And who knows, maybe we can meet in person. In the meantime, let's get back to it.
Because not somebody says, we agree, we all agree that this piece of paper in its current form is worth more than this piece of paper. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay. So what would happen if we stopped agreeing that this piece of paper was suddenly more valuable than this one? Problems is where you're going. Totally, but I'm not going there. Here's where I am going, and I'm gonna give you back this piece of paper in a second, and you're gonna be Rose, right?
Yes.
You're gonna like that. Watch. Okay, so let me ask you this: how many different values does this piece of paper have? You sure? 3. This same piece of paper has 3 different values. It has use value. I could write on it and pass a note in class. Right? It also has speculative value, because some people trade this piece of paper for other pieces of paper, hoping that maybe this piece of paper will go up over time. Does that make sense? Oh, sorry. So they trade one piece of paper, they take this piece of paper, and maybe they trade it for Swedish krona. Intraday, intra-hour, hoping to get more of these back. And it has speculative value. Some people place these pieces of paper on deposit and hopefully get more pieces of paper back. Not so much right now, but you get my point. It has investment value. All assets have 3 values at minimum: use, speculative, and investment. I can look at any house and tell you 3 different prices to pay for it, depending on how you're going to use it, because it has different values.
Is that an asset?
I'm not there yet. Stop. Ignore the people with the Cashflow Diary shirts. But he does bring up the very next question. Is this an asset? Yes or no?
Yes.
Who says yes? Who says no? Who says no that hasn't heard me before? Why is this not an asset?
Because I just feel like the value isn't stable. Like it can go down and go up.
That is true. But assets, things that are assets, have value that is stable, that go up and go down all the time. Why is this not an asset?
It's not liquid, it's liquid.
You know, it's not. I can't drink it, that's for sure.
The assets are, I don't know how to. It's like assets you buy, like your house, or things that don't go down in value.
This goes down in value, and so does the house, especially as measured in nominal currency. I'm challenging you to think, that's all.
I know.
Yes. Do we have another player? Come on. You know the answer. See, this also proves how little attention we pay to certain things. Go for it.
It belongs to United States Bank of United States or whatever?
It does belong to its, okay. How many of you are familiar with pieces of paper this color and about this size, maybe a different denomination? You familiar with these? Have you ever read the top? You know what it says? It says Federal Reserve Note. This note is legal tender for all debts, public and private. This is a promissory note. This is something that they promise to pay. Now, there's no longer anything that they promise to pay because they took care of that in 1971, but these are details. But this is part of why you will be able to raise capital. Because this promise to pay is backed by what? And what's the technical term for that? Do you not? If you don't know, that's fine. That's part of the reason why I'm here. Because I want to share this information with you. This is how understanding this type of information is how I've been able to raise tens of millions of dollars, never use a bank. Because when you go through the process of education, like I'm sharing with you right now, you come out on the other side going, oh God, I got to do something about it. And your solution, i.e. possibly investing with my business, could be that very thing. The word that I'm getting you to go after right here is fiat. It's backed by the full faith and credit of its particular government, which in this particular case is the United States of America. Now, how many of you have full faith and credit in our government? Don't raise your hand. I'm just saying. Here's why this is important. At the moment, right this second, we all agree that this piece of paper is worth more than this one, yes? Does anyone possibly disagree with me at all? Okay. May I borrow your pen? All right. So now, Rose, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to write I, J, Massey, O-U, Rose, last name?
Sharaf Lari.
But you want me to spell this right, don't you? Yeah, I know. Okay. One more time.
Sharaf Lari.
S-H?
A-R-A-F-L-A-R-I.
Ooh. Yeah. How long did it take you to learn to spell that? Got it. Yeah, right. I-J Massey, O-U, Rose. One more.
Sharaf Lari.
Yeah, I won't say that. But I just write it right here. I'm going to say, let's pick a number. 10,000. Sounds good. I owe you 10,000 US dollars. Now, Rose, do you want me to sign this and get it notarized? Yes.
Yeah.
Why?
Probably. Because then it has value.
Then it has value because why?
Because then you've promised to.
I've promised to what? To pay. That's all I did. It's a promissory note. Is that any different than this one?
No.
Except right here, I just created for Rose with a pen and a piece of paper, $10,000 of value. Correct? Yeah. That's called a problem if you're holding a whole bunch of these. Because just as difficult, just as easy as it was for me to create that kind of value for her, those that control this have the ability to print, that's all you saw me do, more money into an existence. And that is the basis of why people will give you their dollars. That's why. It's because they can't out-earn the rate at which money can be printed. How fast did I print, in theory, $10,000 for Rose? It didn't take that long. How many of you can earn $10,000 in seconds? I mean, right? Not many of us in this room. But that's what I'm saying. And they can do that. This is an economic force that's been going on since 71, technically 74, and is what we have all inherited. When I say we, I'm talking about anyone under 40. We have inherited and we get to deal with it. This is the economic world. The best way period, to create wealth and value is owning a business. The second best way is real estate. Equity is created quickly with a business, like insane. The second best way is with a piece of real estate. Does that make sense? So when you, hey, I know her. So all I'm saying to you is the ideas that you have in your head can be worth tens of thousands. I'm sorry, I didn't sign that. I know you wanted me to. She was really, really hoping. But the ideas that are in your head can be worth tens of thousands of dollars in a very short period of time. And all it takes is an agreement with one counterparty. Because that's the number one thing that we have right here is what's called counterparty risk. Because the person who controls is the person who's made the promise may not pay. That's the problem, right? That's what you have, is you have counterparty risk. So you want to understand that just because someone has $1 million, 10,000, 100,000, or they earn 100,000, like this month, September, I have a podcast in iTunes, and the only thing I've been doing, because I tell my audience all the time, you can do 100,000 a month, and they're just like, how? That's not possible. I'm like, yes, it is. 6 figures is great a year, but do it in a month and, you smile differently. And what I did is I went and got a couple of my friends together and said, hey, you guys have done 6 figures in a month. Let's talk about it. And all month, all we've been doing is episodes about how to do $100,000 in a month. So that's been the whole thing. And it's just various forms of understanding how to create value, equity, things of value with one counterparty and repeating that process over and over and over again. Simply because the person who has a lot of these, they want more, but they also want to protect the ones they have. And sometimes to make a portfolio safer, the greatest thing you can do is add risk to it. You add risk to actually make a portfolio safer. Now, what's more risky than an unproven idea? Right? So this is where investors come to the table trying to understand your POC. Give me proof of concept. Will people part with this? And if you can prove that people will part with this, you are most of the way there. See, the advantage with real estate, it doesn't take any work. I don't have to work that hard to say, people will live here. Or people live in buildings. Yeah, I've seen that. That's everybody does that everywhere. But we haven't seen the Legoland Ninja themed t-shirt yet. Although I know my son, he would want one. I just not gonna go through the process of making the shirt. I'd just rather buy it from one of you guys at the end of the day. And that's what I'm saying here. This is just a piece of paper. And the ones that you have in your notebooks can be infinitely more valuable really, really quickly. That's the basis of why people will give you money. Not your age, not necessarily your business idea. They have external pressures that are forcing them to look for other opportunities that are different than just trading time for dollars. What is your number one asset? Time. Period. I can't get any of it back. The second we just spent, it's gone. Can't get that back. I don't care how much money I have, that second is gone. One of those things to understand, therefore, is that when it comes to your business, there are 4 primary resources. It's knowledge, time, money, and credit. Knowledge, time, money, and credit. Those are the 4 primary resources that you're going to be using. Now, you can typically draw something of a divided line right here, because the person with the money and credit usually does not have the knowledge or the time. And the converse is also true. Typically, the person with the knowledge and time usually doesn't have the money or credit, right? So what has to happen is that you have to learn how to systematically and consistently be in front of, if you're the one with the knowledge and the time, you have to learn a system that puts you consistently in front of people with the money and the credit. And then once you've learned that system, the next thing you've got to learn to do is simply ask. How many of you have ever tried to borrow a $20 bill from a friend? How difficult was it? Not that difficult. Okay, how many of you have tried to buy $200 from a friend? How difficult was it? That was more. 2,000? 20,000. How much money does your business need? Do you see what's happening here? What skill set do you think that is? Who said that? Yes, sales. That's exactly correct. It is the skill set of sales. How many of you hate talking to people? Be honest. I am naturally introverted and shy. Talking to people is not my number one thing. Take me to a party tonight. I promise you, I will find the darkest corner, some chips, some salsa, and I will be there. That's where I am comfortable. This is my safe spot, right over there. Leave me alone. You come to my house, my office is dark. I close the shades. I have one light that barely comes on, and usually my wife has to come in and turn it on because I'm just happy there. It's my happy place. However, does being that way help feed my family? Not necessarily. So I've learned some skills. One of them is sales and learning how to talk to other individuals. Because when you were little, did mommy say to you, don't talk to strangers? You realize that now that you're in business, the number one thing you have to do is talk to strangers? This is a challenge. And you must unlearn some things that you have learned that are not helping you, which is talking to strangers. Asking people for money, especially in the American culture. Now, there are some other cultures, they love to talk about money. They flaunt how much money they have. And that's great, but we're in America. So the challenge is, how do you do that? How do you say those things? And that's the stuff where the magic begins to happen. I'm assuming you already know your business, because whether it's real estate or whether it's, widgets, who has a business idea that they would like to get funded? That's it? I was like, hold on, I'm missing something. What's your first name?
Karen.
Karen, and what is the business idea? I promise you, no one's going to do it. Just you. I know where she is. She's like, no one's got. Yeah. Here's the thing. I'm going to show you one more, yet another way, because this is the other thing that gets in the way of entrepreneurs. And whether you realize it or not, it comes a lot down to how you think and how you perceive the world in various different ways. How many of you are familiar with that diagram in some way, shape, or form? How many of you are familiar with that? How many of you are not, have no clue what that is? Okay, that wasn't 100%, so I'll do this again. How many of you are familiar with that? Okay, and how many of you are not? Okay, excellent. This is what is known as the cash flow quadrant. Robert Kiyosaki created it, invented it, explained it, whatever, it works. There are four different, in a capitalistic economy, there are four ways to earn money. You can be E, an employee, trading time for dollars. S, small business owner or self-employed, typically trading a higher level skill set, plus, but you're still tied to a clock. Business owner, they own or control the means of production. They have a system, which is great. And an investor tends to use their capital to go out there and bring back more capital to them. That's how each of those quadrants work. Now, at some point, as your business develops, you kind of want to play in all of these, because just because you earn a lot of money, that doesn't necessarily mean you're a business owner. You familiar with an individual by the name of Kobe Bryant? When he's playing for the Lakers, which quadrant do you think that is? He's an employee. He's an employee. Now, that's a big check, which comes with big taxes and a whole bunch of other things. But at that moment, he's the employee. Does that make sense? So those things are important to understand. It's not about the amount of money, it's the type of money that you actually earn as well. In fact, I can make an argument that $200 a month here is worth more than $1,000 a month here. Seriously, I could make that argument very, very easily. Simply after taxes, after a whole bunch of other things, I can make that argument all day long. So this is important to understand, though. The primary mindset, though, between this person, what do employees ask on the job interview?
How much I get paid?
How much do I get paid? What else do they ask?
What are my hours?
What are my hours? Yep. What else do they ask?
How many days off do I get?
How many days off do I get? What else do they ask? Work expectations. What's the least I can do and still get a check? That's really what they're saying. Tell me I'm wrong. Okay? All right? What else? What else did they say? Yes, exactly. I was waiting for that one. What are my benefits? Right? He said it. I just didn't hear him. Okay. But who's the focus in all those questions? Them. Right. What about the self-employed person that's a little bit more, but don't you often hear, this is what I charge per hour? Here's what my time is worth. Who's the focus there? Let's talk about the business owner. The business owner, in their thinking, when they go, oh my gosh, I need to increase revenue, what are they thinking? How many units can I move? Also, code for how many stinking gallons of lemonade can I get sold this weekend? How many people's thirst can I solve? They have to think about who? Other people. Other people. Oh my God, if we go out and try to sell 1 million gallons of lemonade, I'm going to need 30 people to do that. Where am I going to find 30 people this weekend? Who are they thinking about? What do they have to do? They have to, by definition, begin to think about other people in order to make that happen. What about the investor? You know what? I got too much money. And yes, there are people who say that. I have too much money. You're like, where are they? I understand. I got too much money. I would love to put some of my money to work, but I don't want to do it. What do they got to do? They got to think about who's got a system, who's got a business that I could give that money to make that work. Does that make sense? That's got POC, that can prove that they've got management skills. Now, here's the interesting thing. When the employee graduates, gets their degree, all that stuff, they're ready to go, who do they have to find? Business owner. The self-employed attorney, lawyer, even mortgage professional, who do they really want as clients? People with a lot of money and assets, and usually called the business owner. The investor who is hoping somebody is running a system somewhere that can produce capital without them having to be personally involved in it. Who is that person looking for? Business owner. I find this interesting. Did you, when you graduated, did you go to an entrepreneurial fair? Or did you go to a job fair? I find that also interesting. Here's why this is important. Karen, yes? Yes. Is because to become this person, you must inherently become generous. You must. Generous with your ideas, generous with your time, generous with your energy, generous with nearly everything you currently think is yours. Because until you share an idea, it can't grow. It doesn't grow. It's stuck. That's one of the reasons I like Jacob. Wave Jacob. Say hi to Jacob. Yes. Because he is the exact opposite. If there are any two individuals in this room that are polar opposites, it is he and I. I promise you on this. Except when it comes to food. We are almost identical in our culinary taste. It's really odd. However, every idea I have, I can ask Jacob, and I know the first word I'm going to hear. I don't know about that. It's where it's going to start. And then it's eventually going to get improved because he's going to think of some other way that we could do it in some way, shape, or form. Right? But if I didn't share that idea with him, it probably would have resulted in a bad customer experience in some way, shape, or form. I do the same thing with Sandy. I do the same thing with Drew. Actually, Drew's really good at doing it with me. His ideas are always great, and I just tend to go with it. Sounds great, Drew. Do that. Just do it. I couldn't think of anything better myself. So that's why I want you to share the idea, because every time I've asked people to share their ideas, those that share tend to benefit the most because other people have other ways of helping those ideas be even better than what you think. Does that make sense?